Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. Hope you guys are having a great Friday night. If you are brand new here, these are post-game podcasts that we do immediately after every Detroit Pistons game. We're almost 60 games in. I'm pretty sure you guys know what the deal is, but you never know. We do have new people subscribing each and every day to the YouTube channel. So just wanted to give that as a little PSA. But let's get into these quarter notes, and then we can open up this show to comments and questions, overall thoughts. So if you guys have any just overall thoughts for tonight's game, drop them in the YouTube live chat, and we will get to them after I'm done talking about these quarter notes. So let's get into it. So first thing that I saw in this game that I wrote down was Mike Malone, and he's the head coach of the Denver Nuggets. For you guys that don't know, he got a technical foul very, very quick. And I think the reason why he got a tech and why he was so upset was the physicality in which Jalen Duran was able to get away with very early on. And it kind of dictated the rest of the game, the way that the officials were just calling fouls for either team. Detroit during this win streak has been a very physical, tough nose minded defensive team. And I think him getting that tech was kind of letting the refs know, like, hey, like these guys are being a little bit too physical with my guy. And I think you kind of have to tip your cap to him because, like, the way the game was officiated for the remainder of the game, there was no physicality. There was altercations throughout the game, and I think it kind of dictated the way that the officials were gonna call the game. But before he did kind of bitch at them for that, but did want to kind of point that out because it's something that I noticed. I was like, okay, now the Pistons aren't going to be able to play that physical defense that they've been playing over these last 10 or so games, but something that I did notice. I thought the passing for Jalen Duran and the defense early on was really great, but there was foul trouble. Jalen Duran had two fouls in the first. Cade had two fouls in the first, and the Nuggets go on an 18-0 run. And it kind of seems like it's like, okay, are we gonna fight back a little bit? Denver's defense just forced a lot of tough shots until Malik Beasley and the bench came in. Malik had 9 points off the bench in the first quarter, and the Pistons cut an 18-point lead down to 8, and they went on a 19-9 run to end the first. So in the end of the first quarter, it was the Denver Nuggets 39, Detroit Pistons 31. Coming out of the second half, um, Pistons were keeping pace with Denver. It was back and forth. It was almost, I think it was a 1 point game at one point in the second quarter. We had a little dust up with Russell Westbrook and Ron Holland. Surprise, surprise. Russell Westbrook being an irritant. That's kind of his MO throughout his career. It was such a weird dust up. Like, him and Ron Holland were just kind of trying to get the ball, and then DeAndre Jordan is kind of pushing them back. Jamal Murray, tried to do something to Ron Holland, but Jalen Duran stopped him very quickly. And I think that kind of sparked up the defensive intensity for the Detroit Pistons because the Nuggets weren't getting what they want. And I thought the second quarter was probably their best quarter of the game. Asar was playing good high level defense. So was Ron. Stu got a technical foul for running away, which I've seen that before. I've seen refs give players technical fouls for running away. He was another player that had a lot of trouble guarding Jokic without the refs blowing their whistle. But to be fair, Jokic did get away with a lot of flopping tonight. There were several plays where, I'm sorry, this guy's almost 300 pounds. You barely touch the guy and he's kind of flopping a little bit. He's a good salesman. I will give him that. But, the Pistons do keep this game somewhat close. They fight back into this game, and it was only a 5 point game heading into to end the second quarter. Denver had 68, Pistons had 63. Coming out of halftime, Nuggets went on a run. They seemed like they really wanted to just get this game done with, and they much like the first quarter, they go in another 15-0 run. They get this game basically with they get this game into the point where Detroit just had a really hard time facilitating, getting shots. Cade had a very difficult time. He had 10 points in the third, only had 1 point in the first quarter. I felt like he was going to try to get it going, but Denver did a really good job defending him. Jalen Duren got a technical foul from the bench. I mean, the refs tonight were very whistle happy after Mike Malone kind of told them like this game's way too physical. But Denver did get a lead to 107 to 87 to end the third, and by the time it was the fourth quarter, Pistons were down as much as 19 points. I think if they were to try to come back in this game, it had to be, flawless defensively and offensively. And I think JB understands that they have to play again tomorrow against the Brooklyn Nets. And he kind of, around the 4-minute mark, just kind of let in like Lindy Waters, Bobby Klintman. Paul Reed played a lot more in the fourth, which I was kind of surprised given the foul trouble that Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren had. We didn't see more Paul Reed because in the fourth, I thought he did a really good job of just scoring around the basket. Defensively, I thought he did a pretty good job too, but Pistons eventually do lose this game to the Nuggets 134 to 119. It does break their 8-game winning streak, which, hey, that winning streak was fun. It was great. And this is the one thing I'll say. This guy's not falling. I see a lot of Pistons fans on Twitter just losing their shit right now. Like Cade had a poster dunk. I saw someone say, "Who cares? We've lost. It's Cade's fault." Like, I'm not going to come up here and say that the sky's falling. This is a much improved team. They've given themselves a couple of wins over 500. They're still very competitive, still sixth in the Eastern Conference. You play a rebuilding Nets team that is a little bit improved tomorrow. We got the Killian Hayes versus Cade Cunningham show tomorrow, which I am going to be attending that game. So I don't know if we're going to be doing a post-game podcast when I get home. I might just upload it after the game when I do get home. But I think overall, this game showed us Pistons fans that there is a lot for them to watch with this game to get better at. Watch the film, because Denver is a team that I think the Pistons want to get to. They want to be able to, be a top 3 seed in their conference respectfully. They want to be able to be, taken seriously. Denver's a contender. Like, Denver has a very good shot of making it out of the West and going to the finals. I thought for, little spurts in the first quarter, second quarter, they did a really good job defensively of trying to scrap and get back into this game. But, overall, both of these games against the Nuggets, they've kind of shown you the differences between the two teams. One is a young, up-and-coming team, future is very bright. And the other is a veteran, savvy team that is battle-tested, playoff-tested, and has won an NBA championship. There's no shame in losing to the Denver Nuggets. They're a very good basketball team. But I just want to say that because I see a lot of Pistons fans getting a little bit, I don't know, recency bias, saying that this loss just kind of proves that, this team isn't ready to, compete in the playoffs and stuff like that. Like, we can pump the brakes a little bit. I think during this winning streak, it showed you the potential of this young core, potential of Cade Cunningham as your, franchise guard. Guys like Asar Thompson defensively is just a menace. Jalen Duren has taken huge steps in development and progression over the last 2 months or so. I think there's a lot to be proud of with this basketball team. But just kind of wanted to rant a little bit because I hate when I see, fans like that get so emotional and say the season's over. This loss, just proves that we're not ready for any of that, which I disagree with. But I want to get into comments and questions, overall thoughts for you guys that are watching live right now. If you haven't already, drop any comments that you guys do have with this post-game show, and I'll get to them after we come back from a quick commercial break. We'll be right back, you guys. Okay, you guys, we are back. I want to get into comments, questions, overall thoughts. I'm going to open up the show for anyone that is watching live right now, wherever you guys are watching. I know we're streamed to a couple different platforms, but I do want to get into some of the comments that you guys did leave while I was talking. I want to get to Johnny. He's got the first comment of tonight's show. Tough loss, but can't be too upset because of the way we've been playing. You'll lose games every once in a while. Well said, Johnny. I think when you look at this game, there's a lot of teachable moments for the Pistons, especially when they do watch film with this game. And you're right. You can't be too upset because the way that they've been playing really good basketball. Like I saw a ESPN graphic out today. I believe it was Kirk Goldsberry that the Detroit Pistons are currently top 5 in offensive rating and defensive rating. Like, when's the last time we could say that? Not in a long time, right? I think this game just kind of shows you that like you just beat Boston, who's an Eastern Conference favorite, and you did a good job of defeating them. You went up against the Nuggets, and it seemed at times during this game, especially in the second quarter, you were really close. You kept the game within 5. It was a 1 point game at one point, but overall, you can still be very proud of this basketball team at the end of the day. They've done such a good job this season of getting better each and every month. Like in December, they were playing 500 basketball. January, they even did better than that. And this month is probably their best month of basketball. Probably probably since like what the Blake Griffin era. Like, can be very very proud of this basketball team. Got a comment from Johnny. Is K dealing with the injury we don't know about? He was pretty pedestrian tonight. He also didn't make or even hunt for his first field goal until the third quarter. I don't know if he's injured. It could be tired legs. I'm not really sure. Um, I would credit Cade's struggles tonight to Denver's defense. I thought the way that they defended him, they did a really good job of it. A lot of his mid-range shots that he usually hits, they weren't going in. Some of his three-point shots were just, rimming out. I think overall, like this is probably one of Cade's worst performances, and I haven't been able to say that much this season. So you can kind of give him a pass. You can't expect someone to drop 25 every single night. It's a long 82 game season, but I think you have to credit it to Denver's defense tonight overall. If I did have to kind of just point it out, don't know if he's injured. If he was injured, I think we probably would have heard about it on the broadcast. They probably would have touched on it if he did have an injury. And a comment from Shift God. We got flat out humbled, but it happens. On to the next one. Yeah, you got Brooklyn tomorrow. They're a team that I think is very beatable. They have guys like Cam Johnson. They have guys like Cam Thomas. Killian Hayes is over there. They're a young, energetic team. Just like the Detroit Pistons, should be a really good game tomorrow at LCA on a Saturday night. But yeah, you just got to bounce back. You can't dwell on this loss for too long. You have to focus on the next team at hand, and I think this team has done a very very good job of doing that. They don't really dwell on losses this season. I have a comment from Cruza. The Nuggets played at a very high level for much of this game tonight, especially when Jokic is initiating the offense and Murray gets hot. Exactly. Denver is one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. Jokic arguably the best player in basketball, best center in the NBA. Jamal Murray, when he's hitting his 3-point shots, when he's getting into the painted area, he's a kind of an underrated passer in a sense. Like Jamal Murray's a very good point guard. I've always been extremely high on him as a player. I know some people aren't. I happen to like Jamal Murray a lot, but yeah, like that tandem alone is very dangerous. And then they have a lot of high level role players on their team that like to get up and down the court. And they're another team like the Detroit Pistons that like to play fast, like the transition game. And if I remember correctly, I think Detroit's 1 and Denver's 2, or vice versa. These are two of the best teams in the transition game. So you saw several times tonight of just how they like to push the pace and play in that transition game. And you have to credit them as well of just hitting their 3-point shots. I believe they hit, I think, 17 tonight, if I do remember correctly. But they're a very good basketball team. There's not really too much shame in losing to a team like that. I got a comment from Dolly. Got to give Jokic credit on his pick and roll defense, his hesitation moves, confused Cade and Duran many times. 3-time MVP. I mean, I don't really know how much more we have to say about Nikola Jokic. I mean, he's a good basketball player. I did feel tonight at times there was really good acting on his part. That push that Stewart gave him, I mean, he flopped like almost into the front row. But yeah, overall, you're right. Like you do have to give him credit on his pick and roll defense, his hesitation moves, especially in the low post. He's just a matchup nightmare for every opposing center. He had a triple double tonight, and like in the first quarter, he wasn't really looking to score. And this kind of shows you how dominant of a basketball player he is. And there's a reason why he's won so many MVPs. Got a comment from Mr. My City. Killian catching all the smoke tomorrow. Go Pistons. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Nets tomorrow, since Killian is on their team now. Got a 10-day, got signed by them. You could have, Cade versus Killian. I'm going to the basketball game tomorrow with my guy Easy. I joked to him. I said, should I wear my Killian jersey tomorrow? But he didn't answer. But I'm excited to see this team. I haven't been out to a Piston game since opening night when we played the Pacers. So really excited to go to the game tomorrow. And if you guys are down there, let me know. We can, do a meetup. I'm excited to, meet anyone at Pistons games like I usually do. But should be a fun time. Devon, people are dramatic and too emotional. They're making the playoffs and Indy lost. Exactly. I think sometimes we get into these like recency bias or a little bit. Like I said, I'm never going to tell a fan how to fan. Like if you're upset with tonight's loss, you have every right to be. I'm not going to gatekeep here. I never gatekeep. I've always felt like gatekeeping is a really weird energy. If you were upset with tonight, I get it. But you can't kind of lose sense of how this team has been playing basketball over the last month and a half. They've been playing really high level basketball, and there's a lot of positives that you could talk about with this basketball team. Now, obviously, did it hurt losing to the Nuggets and ending our 8-game winning streak? Absolutely. You should you should have every right to be upset with the way that we defended tonight, because I thought defensively this wasn't our best basketball game. But overall, throughout this win streak, this has been a very fun and entertaining basketball team for probably since the 2014-15 season, when they went on like that little 7-game skid with, Stan Van Gundy, when they formed a wall. Like this is probably the most entertaining basketball team since then. No shot at like Blake Griffin when they went 41-41. But I mean, just in terms of like going on a win streak, this is a very fun, young, exciting basketball team. Mr. My City, this loss is a reality check. We have to keep working, play hard every night. Nobody had it tonight. It happens. Exactly. And that's what JB kind of said after the loss tonight. He basically said that, there's a lot that we can learn from watching this game back with film. We can learn to execute better on backdoor cuts. We can learn to execute better with movement. And I think at the end of the day, this coaching staff has shown the ability to watch film and get better. I'm still really excited for this basketball team. I'm not really going to get too emotional or reactionary after this loss. Obviously, it sucks that they did fall to the Nuggets, but overall, I think this is a much improved team. I know not too many of us had this team being on the cusp of a 40-win basketball team from winning 14 last year. And I think just when you're talking about this team right now, there's a lot to be positive about. But overall, you got 22 games left, have a good chance to possibly get to the 5 seed. Maybe you can string another winning streak together. They have a little West Coast trip next week, so it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back tomorrow against Brooklyn and how they do on a West Coast trip. But I'm probably going to wrap up this podcast. Keep it, short and sweet for you guys. Don't want to take up too much of your time um, on this Friday night, but hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll probably do a post-game podcast after I get home, so it won't be a live stream. I'll probably just upload it separately because I'm going to the game tomorrow. But again, the Pistons lose to the Denver Nuggets, snapping their 8-game winning streak 134 to 119. But until next time, you guys, peace. Go Pistons. Take care.